It was a Tuesday morning, the kind where the air feels heavy with autumn's promise. I was at my kitchen table, sorting through a pile of bills: electric, water, the usual culprits. My second cup of coffee was going cold, steam curling lazily into the light streaming through the window. That's when I saw it. An envelope, white as bone, tucked between the junk mail. The logo caught my eye. Fairview National Bank, blue and crisp, like it meant business. Now, I hadn't dealt with Fairview in years. My little house, paid off decades ago, thanks to Harold and me pinching pennies. So why was their letter here, staring at me like an uninvited guest? I twirled it in my hands, the paper smooth under my fingers. Something about it felt wrong. Like a whisper you can't quite hear, but know it's there. I slit the envelope open, careful, like I was handling something fragile. The letter unfolded, and my eyes skimmed the first line. "Dear Mrs. Toiver," I read on, and the words hit like a cold wave. "Reminded of your late monthly mortgage payment." My heart stuttered. Mortgage? I didn't have a mortgage. Then I saw the number, $7,243.80, due immediately, for a loan of, God help me, $950,000. $950,000. The room spun. I gripped the table, my knuckles white. "What the hell is this?" I muttered, my voice sounding foreign, small. The letter went on, cold and official, about a loan taken out in March, a property at Lakeview Terrace, and foreclosure if I didn't pay within 2 weeks. Foreclosure. On a house I didn't own. On a loan I never signed. My first thought was a mistake, a clerical error, a mix-up with some other poor soul named Toiver. But as I read again, the chill in my spine grew claws. My name was there, clear as day. My social security number. My address. Someone had used me to borrow nearly $1 million. And the worst part? Deep down, in that quiet place where truth hides, I knew this wasn't random. This was personal. I pushed the letter away, like it was venomous. My kitchen, my sanctuary, felt tainted. The garden outside, Harold's roses, my marigolds, looked too bright, too normal for a world tilting under my feet. I needed answers. I needed to know who'd done this, and why. I grabbed the phone, my hands shaking, and dialed the number on the letter. Fairview National Bank. Each ring felt like an eternity, each second a step deeper into a nightmare. Finally, a voice, polite, detached. "Fairview National, how may I assist you?" "Hi," I said, trying to sound calm. "This is Wilfred Toiver. I got a letter about a late payment on a loan, but there's a mistake. I didn't take out any loan with your bank." "Just a moment, Mrs. Toiver," the operator said, all honey and efficiency. "I'll check the records." As I waited, I stared out at the garden. Harold used to say it was our little Eden, a place we built together. 43 years we had, him and me. When he passed 10 years ago, the silence was deafening. But I adjusted. I had to. My kids, Harper and Lennox, they'd moved on, built their own lives. Visits were rare, calls rarer. I was used to being alone. But now, standing in my kitchen, holding a phone that tethered me to a faceless stranger, I felt more alone than ever. The operator's voice snapped me back. "Mrs. Toiver, according to our records, on March 14th, you took out a $950,000 mortgage for a property at Lakeview Terrace, number 27, in Concord. We have your signature, passport, social security number, and tax returns for the last 3 years." "Impossible!" I blurted. "I never signed anything. I've never even been to Lakeview Terrace. This is fraud. Someone stole my identity. The operator's tone stayed maddeningly calm. In that case, Mrs. Toiver, you should contact the police. You'll also need to visit our head office with identification for a hearing. But I must warn you, until this is resolved, the bank holds you responsible for the payments. Responsible. The word landed like a stone in my chest. I hung up, my mind racing. Fraud. Identity theft. Someone had my documents, my signature, my life in their hands. Who? Who could do this? I sat there, the letter mocking me from the table. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from a spark of something else. Anger. Not the fleeting kind, but the slow-burning sort that sharpens the mind. Whoever did this thought I was easy prey, a widow, old, invisible. They thought I'd crumble, but they didn't know me. Not really. I stood, my chair scraping the floor. The garden outside called, but I ignored it. I needed answers, and I needed them now. Little did I know, the truth would lead me to a betrayal so deep, it would shatter everything I thought I knew about family. By noon, the sky had turned gray, rain tapping at the windows like impatient fingers. I hadn't moved from the kitchen, the letter still open before me. My coffee was stone cold, but I didn't care. My mind was a storm of questions. Who had my documents? How did they forge my signature? And that address, Lakeview Terrace. It nagged at me, a name I'd heard somewhere, maybe in the local paper. A fancy neighborhood, all glass and glamour, far from my modest Elm Street. I needed to think, to plan. But first, I needed to know more. I pulled out my old laptop, Lennox's Christmas gift, meant to keep me modern. I wasn't great with it, but I could manage a search. My fingers hesitated over the keys. Lakeview Terrace, number 27, Concord. I typed it, hit enter, and waited. The screen lit up with images of a house that looked like it belonged in a magazine. 2 stories, sleek and modern, with windows that drank in the lake's shimmer. A terrace stretched out back, perfect for sipping wine at sunset. The price tag? Just shy of $1 million. My stomach twisted. This was the house bought with my name, my credit, my life. I scrolled down, heart pounding. A real estate listing confirmed the sale. March 14th, the same day the loan was processed. The buyer's name wasn't listed, just a company. Caldwell Holdings, LLC. Caldwell. The name hit like a slap. Harper's husband, Frank Caldwell, my daughter's husband. No, it couldn't be. Harper wouldn't. Would she? My daughter, my sharp-tongued, ambitious Harper, who always wanted more than I could give. She'd been distant lately, sure, but this? Stealing my identity? Forging my name? I pushed the thought away, but it clung like damp cloth. The phone rang, shattering the silence. Harper's name flashed on the screen. My hand froze. Was this coincidence? Or did she know? I let it ring twice, 3 times, before picking up. "Hello," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Mom!" Harper's voice was bright, too bright. "Did you remember Zoe's birthday today? We're expecting you at 3. And please don't wear that green sweater. It's a restaurant, not your garden." Zoe's birthday. Of course, I hadn't forgotten. My granddaughter was turning 12, and I'd bought her a silver bracelet, a star pendant dangling from it. But Harper's tone grated. No greeting, no warmth, just orders. And now, with that letter burning a hole in my mind, her voice felt off. "Harper," I said, cutting through her chatter, "I have a problem. I got a letter from Fairview National Bank about a loan, a big one, in my name. A pause. Too long. What? She said, laughing nervously. Another credit card ad? Mom, how many times have I told you to toss those? It's not an ad, I snapped, my patience thinning. It's a $950,000 mortgage. They say I signed for it, but I didn't. Another pause. That's nonsense, she said, her voice tighter now. Who'd give a pensioner a loan like that? You're confused, Mom. Did you take your pills today? Confused. She thought I was confused. Like I was some doddering old fool who couldn't read a letter. I'm not confused, Harper, I said, my voice cold. Someone used my name, my documents, my signature. I'm going to the police. The police? Her voice spiked, panicked. Oh my God, Mom, don't embarrass us. Look, I'll come by after work. I'll read this letter and we'll sort it out. Just don't call anyone, okay? She hung up before I could answer. I stared at the phone, my heart racing. That panic in her voice. It wasn't concern. It was fear. Fear of being caught. I leaned back, the rain drumming harder now. Harper's reaction wasn't right. She didn't ask questions, didn't offer help. She just wanted me quiet. Why? What was she hiding? I looked at the laptop, the house on Lakeview Terrace glowing on the screen. Caldwell Holdings, Frank, Harper. The pieces were falling into place, and I didn't like the picture they formed. But I wasn't helpless, not yet. I'd go to Zoe's party. I'd watch Harper, look for cracks in her story. And then I'd find the truth, no matter how much it hurt. The rain had slowed to a drizzle by early afternoon, leaving the air heavy with the scent of wet leaves. I stood in front of my closet, the letter from Fairview National Bank burning a hole in my mind. Zoe's birthday party was at 3, at the Golden Lily, a restaurant too fancy for my taste, with its overpriced menus and waiters who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. Harper's voice echoed from our phone call. Don't wear that green sweater, Mom. As if my clothes were the problem, not the $950,000 loan in my name. I chose my dark blue dress, simple but elegant, its soft fabric a quiet rebellion against her judgment. I ironed it slowly, the steam hissing like a warning, my thoughts churning. Harper's nervous laugh kept replaying, her quick dismissal. You're confused, Mom. Confused. The word stung, sharp as a slap. She'd always had a way of making me feel small, like I was a relic she had to manage. But that letter wasn't a mistake. It was real, with my name, my social security number, my life tied to a house on Lakeview Terrace, and Caldwell Holdings, Frank's company, nagged at me, a clue I couldn't ignore. I glanced at the clock, 2:15. Time to go. I pinned up my gray hair, slipped Zoe's gift into my purse, a silver bracelet with a star pendant, a nod to my grandmother's heirloom, and headed out. The bus ride to the Golden Lily was quiet, the streets of Concord slick and gleaming under a hesitant sun. I stared out the window, my reflection wavering in the glass. Who had my documents? My passport, my tax returns. They were locked in my desk at home. Someone close had to have access. Someone I trusted. The thought settled like a stone in my chest. The Golden Lily stood like a palace of glass and gold, its entrance framed by manicured shrubs. I stepped off the bus, clutching my purse like a lifeline. The air smelled of wet pavement and expensive cologne. Inside, the restaurant was a world apart from my cozy Elm Street home. Marble floors, chandeliers sparkling like stars, waiters gliding with trays of delicate glasses. I felt like an intruder, but I squared my shoulders. I wasn't here to fit in. I was here to watch, to listen, to find the truth. Lennox was already at a long table draped in white linen, his tailored suit crisp, his watch glinting like it cost more than my monthly pension. His wife, Deirdre, sat beside him, her smile as polished as the silverware. Their kids, Nolan and Marilyn, slouched in their chairs, faces buried in their phones. Teenagers, 15 and 14, experts at ignoring everyone. "Mom," Lennox said, glancing up, his eyes flicking to my hair. "It's sticking out again. Left side." "Hello to you too, Lennox," I said, smoothing my hair, though I knew it was fine. "Deirdre, kids, nice to see you." The teens mumbled, barely looking up. Deirdre's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Good to see you, Wilfred," she said, her voice cool as the wine in her glass. I sat, the chair stiff under me. "Where's Harper?" I asked, scanning the room. "Work," Lennox said, checking his watch. "Some crisis with a client. You know how dedicated she is." Dedicated? The word hung heavy with irony. Harper, a social worker, loved the control of saving kids. But dedicated? After her panicked reaction to the loan, I wasn't so sure. The table was quiet, the kind of silence that feels like a held breath. Lennox sipped his wine, Deirdre scrolled her phone, the kids tapped away. I watched them, my son, his perfect family, and felt like a stranger. Harold used to call us a team, the four of us. Him, me, Harper, Lennox. Now, they'd built their lives without me, leaving me on the sidelines. But someone had dragged me back with a loan I didn't take, a house I didn't know. Half an hour later, Harper arrived, a flurry of energy in a cream blazer and heels. Frank trailed behind, polished but weary, his tie slightly askew. Zoe bounced beside them, her brown hair loose over a sparkly dress that made her look older than 12. "Grandma!" Zoe called, her smile bright but fleeting. "You came." "Of course, dear," I said, handing her the wrapped box. "Happy birthday." Zoe took the gift, her smile polite but quick, setting it aside to show Marilyn something on her phone. My heart twinged. It wasn't her fault. She was 12, caught in a world of screens and glitter. But the dismissal hurt, like I was a footnote in her day. Harper leaned close, her perfume sharp. "Mom, what's this nonsense about a loan?" she whispered, her voice low but edged, like a blade wrapped in silk. I met her eyes, searching for a crack. "It's not nonsense," I whispered back. "I have the letter, from the bank, a $950,000 mortgage in my name." Her eyes flickered just for a moment. "Don't talk about it here," she hissed, glancing at the table. "Not in front of everyone." She straightened, her voice loud and bright. "Mom, salad or soup?" Her deflection was too smooth, her eyes too restless. I'd known Harper her whole life, her sharp mind, her sharper tongue. She wasn't worried about me. She was worried about herself. Lunch dragged on, the air thick with unspoken tension. Lennox and Harper talked over me. Work deals, neighborhood gossip, plans for a new car. Their questions came like darts, each one dripping with condescension. "Still managing in that big house alone, Mom?" Lennox asked, as if I were one step from a nursing home. "Do you even remember Uncle Robert's name?" Harper added, her smile too sweet. "Big house." My modest 3-bedroom, paid off with Harold's sweat and mine, wasn't big. But they'd hinted for years I should sell it, move to a cozy apartment, split the proceeds. I sipped my water, watching them. Their glances, their silences. They thought I didn't see. But I did. Zoe opened her presents, her laughter bright but fleeting. Harper handed her a gold-wrapped box, a designer handbag, Absurd for a 12-year-old. The table oohed, but when Zoe reached my bracelet, Harper muttered, "So old-fashioned," just loud enough for me to hear. I bit my tongue. The bracelet was my grandmother's design, a piece of love, of history. To Harper, it was cheap, worthless. Her world was measured in dollars, not meaning. I watched her, her fingers twisting her napkin, her eyes flicking to Frank when Lennox mentioned a name. Tyler. Tyler Pratt, a college friend. The name snagged, a thread pulling loose. "Tyler's doing well at Fairview National," Lennox said, oblivious to Harper's flinch. "Loan officer now, right?" Harper's smile tightened. "Yeah, he's busy." My heart quickened. Fairview National. The bank. Tyler Pratt. Her reaction wasn't casual. It was fear. The party ended, guests drifting away. Harper pulled me aside as we stood to leave. "Mom, I'll come by tonight," she said, her voice low. "We'll look at that letter. Don't do anything rash." Rash. Like protecting myself was reckless. I nodded, but my mind was racing. Tyler Pratt. Lakeview Terrace. Caldwell Holdings. The pieces were there, jagged and sharp. The bus ride home was a blur, the rain picking up again. My house welcomed me, its creaky floors a comfort. But the letter's shadow loomed. I opened my laptop, Lennox's Keep Mom Modern gift, and typed Lakeview Terrace, number 27, Concord. The screen glowed with images of a mansion, glass walls, a terrace overlooking the lake, a price tag just shy of $1 million. My stomach twisted. This was the house bought with my name. I scrolled, my pulse racing. The sale date, March 14th, same as the loan. The buyer, Caldwell Holdings, LLC, Frank's company, registered 2 months earlier. And a local article, Concord's elite neighborhood, mentioned recent buyers, professionals with big dreams. No names, but the timing was too perfect. I leaned back, the rain drumming outside. Harper's new SUV flashed in my mind. Black, shiny, bought after March. Her nervous eyes, her sharp words. She wasn't just involved. She was the architect. Caldwell Holdings. Tyler Pratt at Fairview National. My daughter had orchestrated a lie, using my life as her canvas. I stood pacing the kitchen. The letter sat on the table. A silent accusation. Harper would be here in hours, expecting to smooth this over, to keep me quiet. But I wasn't the quiet widow anymore. I needed proof, someone to help me unravel this. I grabbed my phone and dialed Audrey, my friend from the post office. Her number a lifeline. "Winnie!" Audrey answered, her voice bright. "Calling late? Something's up." "Audrey," I said, my voice shaking. "I need your help. Harper's coming tonight, and I think she stole my identity for a loan." A low whistle. "That's no small thing, Winnie. You need a lawyer. Rowan Jett, she's the best for fraud, elder abuse. I'll get you her number." I wrote down Rowan Jett's number, my hand steady despite the storm inside. Harper thought she could talk me down, call me confused, keep her secrets safe. But she didn't know me, not anymore. I'd face her tonight, look her in the eye, and ask the question burning in my chest. "Did you do this?" And no matter her answer, I was ready to fight. The house was still as I waited for Harper, the silence broken only by the steady tick of the kitchen clock. It was just past 6, the sky outside a bruised purple, heavy with the promise of rain. The letter from Fairview National Bank sat on the table. Its words, $950,000, Lakeview Terrace, foreclosure, etched in my mind like a scar. I'd spent the afternoon pacing, replaying Zoe's birthday party. Harper's sharp whisper, "Don't talk about it here." Her flinch when I mentioned Tyler Pratt. She was hiding something, And it wasn't just nerves. It was guilt. Audrey's call after the party had been a lifeline. "Rowan Jett," she'd said, her voice fierce. "She's a lawyer, specializes in fraud and elder abuse. You need her, Winnie." I'd scribbled down the number, my hands trembling with purpose. But before I called, I needed to see Harper's face, hear her words, to know if my own daughter could steal my life for a house. Headlights swept across the living room, cutting through the dusk. Harper's black SUV, too new for her salary, sat in my driveway like a taunt. Her footsteps were quick, sharp, like she was already on edge. The doorbell rang, a single shrill note that echoed like a warning shot. I opened the door, and there she was. Harper, my daughter, in a tailored coat, her blonde hair pulled tight, her green eyes restless. "Mom," she said, her voice clipped, no warmth. "Where's the letter?" I stepped aside, keeping my face calm. "Hello, Harper. It's in the kitchen." She brushed past me, her coat still on, like she couldn't wait to escape. I followed, watching her every move. Her hands twitched as she grabbed the letter from the table, her eyes scanning it too fast, like she already knew every word. "It's a mistake," she said, her voice sharp but unsteady. "A scam, probably. You get those all the time, Mom." I crossed my arms, leaning against the counter. "That's what I told the bank. They said they have my signature, my passport, my social security number, everything. Someone close to me had to get those, Harper." Her head snapped up, eyes narrowing. "What are you implying?" "I'm not implying," I said, stepping closer. "I'm asking. Lakeview Terrace, number 27, bought with a loan in my name, tied to Caldwell Holdings, Frank's company. And Tyler Pratt, your old college friend, works at Fairview National. Explain it, Harper." Her face froze, a flicker of panic crossing her eyes before she masked it with a laugh. Brittle, forced. "Mom, you've been on that laptop too much. You're playing detective now? This is ridiculous." "Don't," I said, my voice hard. "Don't call me ridiculous. I saw the real estate records. The house was bought in March, same time as the loan. And that SUV, when did you get it?" "After March." She clutched her purse, her knuckles white. I remembered her as a child, twisting her hair when she lied about small things, broken dishes, stolen cookies. Now that same tick betrayed her in a lie that could ruin me. My daughter, my blood, was hiding a crime. "Mom, listen," she said, her voice softening, that honeyed tone she used to get her way. "I'll call the bank. I know someone. Tyler, actually. He'll clear this up. You don't need to worry." "Tyler Pratt," I said, my voice cold. "The loan officer who approved a $1 million mortgage without checking my identity." Her face went pale, her lips parting like I'd struck her. "You're paranoid," she snapped, standing. "You're making this into something it's not." "Then tell me what it is," I said, my voice rising. "Tell me why your husband's company owns that house. Tell me how my documents ended up at the bank. Tell me why you're so scared of me going to the police." She grabbed the letter, crumpling it in her fist. "I'm taking this," she said, her voice shaking. "Don't do anything stupid, Mom. No police, no drama. I'll fix it." She stormed out, the door slamming so hard the windows rattled. I stood in the living room, my heart pounding, the silence heavy with truth. She hadn't denied it. She'd dodged, deflected, run. My daughter had betrayed me. I sank into a chair, my legs trembling. The house felt smaller, like the walls were pressing in. Harper's panic, her refusal to answer, it was a confession in itself. I thought of Harold, his steady hands pruning roses, his voice calm. "Justice must be done, Winnie, even when it's family." I'd been soft too long, letting Harper and Lennox treat me like a burden, a fool. But this was a line crossed, a trust shattered. I pulled out the slip of paper with Rowan Jett's number, my hands steady now. Audrey had sworn by her, said she was tough, a fighter for people like me. I dialed, each ring a step towards something new, something terrifying. Rowan Jett's office. A bright voice answered. How can I help you? This is Wilfred Toiver, I said, my voice firm. I need Ms. Jett. It's urgent. A fraud case. Ms. Jett's available tomorrow at 10 a.m. The woman said, Can you come to our Concord office? I'll be there, I said, already picturing the bus route. The night passed in a haze. I made tea, but it went cold. I tried reading, but the words blurred. My mind was on Harper, her fear, her lies, and on Zoe, caught in the middle. I thought of the birthday party, her puzzled eyes when Harper brushed off my gift. I couldn't let this touch her, but I couldn't let it destroy me either. The next morning, I woke early. The sky gray, but the rain gone. I chose my blue dress again, its weight like a promise. The bus to downtown Concord was quiet, the streets waking slowly. Rowan Jett's office was in a modest brick building, its sign clear, Rowan Jett, attorney at law, elder law, and financial abuse. The words hit hard. Abuse. That's what this was, and it came from my own daughter. The reception area was warm, with a potted fern and a desk where a young woman with thick-rimmed glasses smiled. Mrs. Toiver, Ms. Jett's ready. Rowan Jett stood behind her desk, a woman in her 60s with close-cropped gray hair and a blue suit that said she meant business. Her handshake was firm, her eyes sharp but kind. Mrs. Toiver, she said, gesturing to a chair, tell me what's going on. I took a deep breath and spilled it all. The letter, the bank call, Harper's reaction, the house on Lakeview Terrace, Tyler Pratt. Rowan listened, her pen scratching notes, her face calm but attentive. When I mentioned Caldwell Holdings, her eyebrows lifted. You confronted her last night? She asked. Yes, I said. She didn't deny it. She just ran. Rowan leaned back, tapping her pen. This sounds like identity theft, likely by a family member. It's not uncommon, but it's ugly. We have two paths. Criminal charges, which could mean jail for Harper, or a civil suit to void the loan and clear your name. I swallowed hard. Jail. Harper, Zoe's mother, behind bars? My heart twisted. I don't want that, I said. Not yet. Can we just stop the loan? We can, Rowan said. We'll file a civil suit for fraud. We need proof you didn't sign. Medical records, handwriting samples, your whereabouts on March 14th. I'll dig into Caldwell Holdings and this Tyler Pratt. If Harper's behind this, we'll prove it. I looked at Rowan, her steady gaze a lifeline. For the first time since the letter arrived, I felt I wasn't alone. What do we need from me? I asked. Your signature samples, old checks, letters, anything, and any proof you were elsewhere when the loan was signed. I'll handle the bank records and real estate filings. We'll build a case, Wilfred, and we'll make it airtight. I nodded, a fire kindling inside me. Harper thought I'd stay quiet, let her sweep this under the rug. She was wrong. I thought of Harold, his voice clear. Justice, Winnie, you deserve it. Do it, I said, my voice clear. File the suit. I want justice. For my home. For me. Rowan's lips twitched, a spark of respect in her eyes. Good. Come back tomorrow with those documents. We'll start building. I left Rowan's office, the air cool against my face. The storm was coming, not just in the sky, but in my life. Harper would fight back, her sharp tongue ready to cut. Lennox would side with her, his loyalty always to his sister. But I wasn't backing down. The truth was in that house on Lakeview Terrace, in the secrets my children kept, and I was going to find it, no matter the cost. The morning after confronting Harper, I woke to a world that felt raw, like the air itself had been scraped clean by the truth. The rain was back, a soft drizzle blurring the windows of my Elm Street home. I stood in the kitchen, clutching a mug of tea, its steam curling like a ghost. Harper's face haunted me, her pale cheeks, her trembling hands as she snatched the letter and fled. She hadn't denied forging my signature, hadn't explained Caldwell Holdings or Tyler Pratt. Her silence was a confession, and it cut deeper than any words. I glanced at the clock, 9:15 a.m. My appointment with Rowan Jett was at 10 to. Audrey's voice echoed from last night. "Rowan's tough, Winnie. She'll fight for you." I'd called Rowan after Harper's exit, her secretary slotting me in immediately. I dressed in my blue dress, its familiar weight like armor, and pinned Harold's silver brooch to my collar. His memory steadied me. "Justice, Winnie. You deserve it." The bus to downtown Concord was quiet, the other passengers lost in their own worlds. Phones, newspapers, distant stares. I watched the rain streak the windows, my reflection a faint outline. How had Harper done it? My passport, my social security card, they were locked in my desk. She'd been in my house countless times, helping herself to tea, to memories, to my trust. The betrayal sank into my bones, heavy as the rain outside. Rowan's office was a small haven in an old brick building, its sign clear: Rowan Jett, attorney at law, elder law and financial abuse. The words stung. Abuse. From my own daughter. The receptionist, a young woman with thick-rimmed glasses, smiled warmly. "Mrs. Toiver?" "Ms. Jett's ready." Rowan stood behind her desk, her gray hair catching the light, her blue suit sharp as her gaze. "Wilfred," she said, her handshake firm. "You look like you mean business. Sit. Tell me everything." I sank into the chair, my purse tight in my lap. "I confronted Harper last night," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I told her about the loan, Caldwell Holdings, Tyler Pratt. She didn't deny it. She just ran. Said she'd fix it. Told me not to call the police." Rowan's eyes narrowed, her pen poised. "That's telling. If she's dodging, she's scared. But we need proof, not just suspicion. Start from the beginning." I recounted it all. The letter, the bank call, Zoe's birthday party, Harper's flinch at Tyler's name, my laptop search revealing Caldwell Holdings. Rowan's pen flew, her questions precise. "Where were you on March 14th, when the loan was signed? Do you have documents with your real signature? Has Harper had access to your files?" I thought back, sifting through the fog of months. March 14th, I was at St. Elizabeth's Clinic. Blood tests, cardiologist, 8:30 a.m. to 3:45 p.m. I couldn't have been at the bank. My documents, passport, social security card, are in a locked desk drawer. But Harper's been over plenty. She could have... My voice broke, the thought too heavy. Rowan's eyes softened, but her voice stayed firm. "We'll prove it. First, we need the loan agreement from the bank. I've drafted a request. You'll sign it today. We'll need your signature samples for a handwriting analysis. And I'm digging into Caldwell Holdings. If Frank's involved, or this Tyler Pratt, there's a trail." I nodded, my hands trembling. "What if it's true?" I whispered. "What if Harper did this? My own daughter?" Rowan set her pen down, her gaze steady. "Wilfred, family betrayal is the worst kind. I've seen it. Children who see their parents as a means to an end. But you're not alone. We'll build this case, and you'll get justice." Justice. The word felt like a stone, heavy but grounding. I thought of Harper as a girl, her pigtails bouncing as she ran through the backyard, her laughter bright. When had she become this woman who'd steal from me? Had I missed the signs? Been too soft? Too trusting? I remembered a summer day, Harper at 7, helping me plant tulips. She'd grinned, dirt smudged on her nose, and said, "Mommy, we make things grow." Now she was planting lies, growing a life she couldn't afford. I thought of Zoe, her puzzled eyes at the party, and my heart ached. This wasn't just about me. It was about her, too, caught in her mother's web. "What's next?" I asked Rowan, my voice stronger. "We start with your alibi," she said, sliding a document across. "Sign this to request the loan agreement. I'll contact St. Elizabeth's for your medical records. My realtor contact can pull Lakeview Terrace records, and Tyler Pratt, if he's Harper's friend. He's a weak link. I'll find him." I signed, my hand steady despite the storm inside. "He works at Fairview National," I said. "Lennox mentioned him at the party." Harper flinched when his name came up. Rowan's lips twitched, a spark of interest. "Good. A personal connection could explain how she bypassed bank protocols. We'll get there." I left Rowan's office with a fire in my chest, not just anger, but purpose. For years, I'd let Harper and Lennox talk over me, their condescension a slow drip wearing me down. But now, I was awake. I was fighting. The rain had stopped, the air cool and sharp. I felt like I was seeing the world anew, every detail vivid. The wet pavement gleaming, the distant hum of Concord waking up. The next few days were a waiting game, the kind that frays your nerves. I kept busy, pruning Harold's roses, reading, sipping tea with Audrey, but my mind was on Rowan's work. Harper didn't call, didn't show. Lennox was silent, too, his absence a weight. Their silence screamed they were hoping I'd back down. But I wasn't. On the 4th day, Rowan called. "Wilfred, come to my office. We've got something big." Her voice was calm but charged, like she'd struck gold. I was on the next bus, my heart racing as I stepped into her office. Rowan was at her desk, a stack of papers before her. "Sit," she said, her eyes gleaming. My realtor pulled the records for 27 Lakeview Terrace. It's owned by Caldwell Holdings, LLC, registered to Frank Caldwell 2 months before the purchase. It's a shell company, Wilfred, a front to hide the real owner. I stared at the printout she handed me, the words blurring. So Harper and Frank planned this? "Exactly," Rowan said. "They rent the house from Caldwell Holdings for $1,000 a month, far below market value. It's a trick to distance themselves from the loan. A shell company. My daughter had woven a lie so calculated it made my head spin." "There's more," Rowan said, sliding over the loan agreement. "Look at the signature." I took it, my hands shaking. My name, but not my hand. The W too sharp. The T wrong. A clumsy forgery. "How did the bank miss this?" I asked, my voice tight. "They didn't," Rowan said. "Tyler Pratt, the loan officer, approved it. I found an old college photo online. Him and Harper close. If they were friends, he likely skipped the checks." My stomach twisted. Harper had used her charm, her connections, to steal from me. "What about Lennox?" I asked. He knew something, I could tell. "No hard evidence yet," Rowan said. "But his silence suggests he's complicit. We'll keep digging." I looked at Rowan, her steady presence anchoring me. "What's our next step?" "We build," she said. "St. Elizabeth's confirmed your March 14th appointment. Your alibi's solid. With the forged signature and shell company, we're close to proving fraud. We'll file a civil suit to void the loan. If Harper fights, we'll be ready." I nodded, the fire inside me growing. Harper thought I'd stay quiet, let her win. She was wrong. "File it," I said. "I'm done letting her hide." Rowan smiled, a glint of respect in her eyes. "Good. I'll have the papers ready by week's end. But brace yourself. Harper won't go quietly." As I stood to leave, Rowan's phone rang. She answered, her face tightening. "Yes, Paige, what? This Saturday?" She glanced at me, eyes wide. "Thanks." She hung up, her voice low. "My contact at Silver Spoon Catering just got an order for a housewarming party at 27 Lakeview Terrace. Harper's throwing it 40 guests this weekend." My heart stopped. "A party? In that house?" Rowan nodded. "Champagne, catering, the works. And you're not invited." A housewarming party. Harper was celebrating her lie, flaunting a house bought with my name. The betrayal burned, but it also lit a spark. She thought she'd won, thought I'd stay silent. She was wrong. I'd be there, with the truth in my hands, and she'd face me. The night air was cool and heavy, carrying the scent of rain-soaked grass as I sat in Rowan's car, the road to Lakeview Terrace stretching like a path to judgment. It was Saturday evening, just past 7, and the sky was a deep gray, the clouds restless with the promise of a storm. In my lap, I clutched a manila envelope, legal papers, Rowan's weapon to void the fraudulent loan. In the back seat sat Clara, the bailiff, a tall woman with a calm demeanor and a clipboard that made her presence official. Her badge glinted in the dim light, a reminder that this wasn't just my fight. It was justice, formal and unyielding. "You ready, Wilfred?" Rowan asked, her eyes on the road, her voice steady, but warm. I swallowed, my throat tight. "I don't know if I'm ready," I admitted, my fingers tracing the edge of the envelope. "But I'm doing it. For me. For my home." Clara leaned forward, her voice matter-of-fact. "I've served papers in worse places than a fancy party, Mrs. Toiver. Stick with me, hand over the envelope when we're inside, and I'll handle it." The plan was simple, but daunting. Walk into Harper's housewarming party, uninvited, and serve her the lawsuit papers in front of her guests. Rowan had insisted on the public setting. It would pressure Harper to settle, to face the truth. But all I could think of was Zoe, my 12-year-old granddaughter, her innocent eyes at the birthday party. If she was there, seeing her mother's shame, it would break something in me. We pulled up to 27 Lakeview Terrace, and my breath caught. The house was a vision of wealth, modern, all glass and sharp angles, its windows glowing gold against the dusk. Fairy lights draped the terrace, and expensive cars lined the street, their polished surfaces reflecting the fading light. Harper's black SUV sat proudly in the driveway, a symbol of her ambition. Jazz music drifted out, smooth and carefree, a stark contrast to the knot in my stomach. Rowan parked, and we stepped out, the gravel biting under my sensible shoes. I'd worn my blue dress again, with Harold's silver brooch pinned to my collar, a piece of him to steady me. Clara adjusted her jacket, the papers tucked under her arm. "Here we go," she said, her voice calm but firm. The front door was open, spilling light and chatter into the night. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding like a drum. "For Harold," I whispered. "For justice." We stepped inside, and the opulence hit me like a wave. Polished wood floors gleamed under a chandelier dripping crystals. A spiral staircase curved upward like a promise of more extravagance. Guests filled the space, men in tailored suits, women in shimmering dresses, all sipping champagne from flutes that sparkled in the light. Waiters moved silently, trays of delicate hors d'oeuvres balanced with precision. This wasn't my world, not the Elm Street home where Harold and I raised our children, where love was measured in shared meals and quiet evenings. This was Harper's dream, built on my stolen name. I scanned the room, my eyes finding her near the terrace doors. Harper glowed in a red dress, her laughter loud but brittle, her blonde hair catching the light. Frank stood beside her, his smile tight, his hand gripping her elbow. Across the room, Lennox talked to a man I didn't know. Tall, slick, maybe Tyler Pratt. My family, my betrayers, all here, wrapped in a lie. Rowan touched my arm. "There she is," she whispered. "Stay close." Clara led the way, her presence cutting through the crowd like a blade. Heads turned, whispers trailing us. I felt their eyes, curious, judging, an older woman in a plain dress flanked by a lawyer and a bailiff. We didn't belong, and they knew it. Harper saw us first. Her laugh died, her champagne flute freezing halfway to her lips. Her green eyes locked on mine, fear flashing before she masked it with a scowl. "Mom," she said, her voice sharp, loud enough to turn heads. "What are you doing here?" The room quieted, the jazz seeming to fade. Frank stepped closer, his face paling. Lennox froze, his glass trembling in his hand. I felt Rowan's steady presence, Clara's calm authority. This was the moment. "Harper Caldwell," Clara said, her voice ringing clear. "I'm here to serve you with legal documents." She held up the envelope, her badge catching the light. "A lawsuit filed by Wilfred Toiver, alleging fraud and identity theft, related to a $950,000 mortgage loan for this property." The room erupted in whispers, a wave of shock rippling through the guests. Harper's face went white, her mouth opening and closing like a trapped fish. "This is absurd," she snapped, her voice shaken. "Mom, you're embarrassing yourself. This is my house." "Embarrassing myself?" I said, stepping forward, my voice steady despite the fire in my chest. "You took out a loan in my name, Harper. You forged my signature, used my documents, bought this house with my life. And you thought I wouldn't fight?" Frank grabbed her arm, his voice low. "Harper, say nothing." She shook him off, her eyes blazing. "You're confused, Mom. You don't understand. This is a mistake." "Don't lie to me," I said, my voice rising, cutting through the murmurs. "Caldwell Holdings, your shell company. Tyler Pratt, your friend at the bank. I know it all." The man with Lennox flinched, his face confirming my guess. Tyler Pratt. He edged toward the door, but Rowan stepped in his path, her smile sharp. "Leaving so soon, Mr. Pratt," she said. Lennox pushed through the crowd, his face red. "Mom, stop this. You're ruining everything. Harper didn't do anything. You're blowing this out of proportion." "Am I?" I turned to him, my voice cold. "You knew, Lennox. You knew about the house, the loan. You didn't stop her. You didn't warn me." He froze, his mouth working but no words coming. The guests were silent now, their eyes wide, champagne forgotten. I felt their stares, but I didn't care. This wasn't about them. It was about my home, my truth, my life. Harper's voice cracked like a whip. "You're destroying our family, Mom. This is my house, my life. You can't take it." "It was never yours," I said, my voice quiet but iron. "You stole it. From me." "Mommy!" The voice was small, trembling, and it sliced through me like a blade. Zoe stood at the edge of the room, her sparkly birthday dress wrinkled, her brown eyes wide with confusion. "Grandma!" "Why are you fighting?" My heart shattered. Zoe, caught in her mother's lies. Harper spun toward her, her face softening for a moment. "Zoe, honey, go upstairs. This is grown-up stuff." "No," Zoe said, her voice shaking but firm. "What did you do, Mommy? Why is Grandma saying you stole?" I wanted to run to her, to shield her, but my feet were rooted. "Zoe," I said, my voice cracking. I'm so sorry. Your mom used my name to buy this house. It wasn't right. Zoe's eyes filled with tears, darting to Harper. Is it true? Harper's face crumpled, but she didn't answer. That silence was louder than any scream. Zoe backed away, clutching her dress, and ran toward the staircase. I watched Zoe disappear, my heart breaking. I'd wanted justice, but not like this, not with her hurt. Harper turned on me, her voice a hiss. You've ruined us, Mom. You've lost Zoe, everything. Her words cut, but I stood tall. No, Harper, I said. You did that. You chose this. Clara stepped forward, handing Harper the envelope. You've been served, she said, her voice calm but final. You have 30 days to respond. Harper snatched the papers, her hands trembling. The guests began to drift away, their whispers a hum of judgment. Frank pulled her toward the terrace, muttering about lawyers. Lennox glared at me, then followed. Rowan touched my arm. You did what you had to, Wilfred. Let's go. I nodded, but my eyes lingered on the staircase where Zoe had vanished. The weight of her shock pressed on me, but so did the fire in my chest. I'd exposed Harper's lie in front of everyone. There was no turning back. We walked into the night, the rain beginning to fall, soft but insistent. The lake house glowed behind us, its lights a mockery of my pain. I'd won this battle, but at what cost? Zoe's tearful face haunted me, her trust in her mother broken. I thought of Harold. Justice, Winnie, even when it hurts. As we drove away, the storm broke, rain pounding the car. I clutched my brooch, its edges sharp against my fingers. Harper would fight back, Lennox too. But I wasn't alone. I had Rowan, Clara, the truth. And I had myself, stronger than ever.